Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. I'm happy that you joined us today. I am so happy to bring to Just Minding My Business Media Lasada LP Pippen, who is a former computer engineer turned powerhouse keynote and motivational team building speaker who helps organizations and professionals break barriers and elevate their impact. He channels inspiring storytelling to ignite purpose, perseverance, and dynamic results. His signature keynote, The Climb, equips audiences with the mindset and tools to rise higher personally and professionally. Wow. So, LP, thank you. I always love motivational folks because, you know, the way that I see it, you have to work from the inside out, number one, and it's a daily activity.
Absolutely. Thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for that introduction. Dutifully said. Excited to have this conversation with you, and I couldn't be more thrilled for what I get to do every day in
I
my
know.
profession. So,
It's just so powerful. People that are not there, they missing out. That's all I
yeah,
can.
that's right. They don't know what they're missing yet.
So you often speak about purpose, potential, and perseverance.
Mhm.
How did those principles shape your own journey? Huh.
Yeah, so I leaned into those three things. Those three things has been the anchor and the pillars of my success and how I got to where I am today. When I left engineering and corporate America and shifted into this full-time speaking and coaching, it was purpose that called me out of corporate into this space here. And so I leaned heavily on purpose, in purpose, and with purpose. And I grew up with very little resources and, we didn't have a whole lot. And so I learned resilience and perseverance at a young age. And I've kept that mentality and I've kept that spirit of perseverance ever since then. And potential, I just want to live my life maxed out. Once I get to the end of the road, I don't want any questions. I don't want a question of if I would have did this, if I could have done this. I don't want any questions. I want to leave here empty and I want to live life maxed out. And that's maxing out my full potential. So that's how those three things intertwine in my life, having purpose, always persevering, and then maxing out my full potential.
Yes, I love it because that shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yes, that thing is that's terrible to get to the end and have to ask those questions, I just don't want to know. I don't want to know the result of that. So yeah,
Oh, absolutely. It's always best to just do the darn thing.
that's
Simple
right.
as
Just
that.
do it.
Just do
Yes.
it.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. Because I mean, it's funny because you're an engineer. I'm an IT professional.
Mm.
That's where I came from. And
Yep.
I recall I'm a certified coach, but I don't practice that way. I practice more or less in the technology space
Yes.
because people go through so much stuff when the computer don't work.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah. Because my first few years in tech was in IT, and the engineering part was the latter half. And so I kind of had the best of both worlds. But yeah, I totally understand that space completely.
Yes, yes. It's always a panic attack, you know.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. So, as a first generation college grad and corporate leader coming from an underserved community, what drove you to climb into these spaces?
The desire for more. I wanted more. And I always believed that when I looked around, not having a blueprint for success, not having any real role models or anything like that, I always told myself, I said, it has to be more. It can't just be a life of just average and just barely getting by and just surviving. I said, life has to offer more than that. And so I wanted to pursue what that more was for me, and I wanted to find it. And I want to live the majority of my life in purpose and on purpose. And so that was a driving and a burning desire for me. And I still have it to this day. I'm still a scrappy little fighter to get to where I want to get to in life. And so that was a drive for me, is knowing that that was more out there to offer, and I wanted to experience that more.
Yes, yes, which leads me to the climb. Okay.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, the climb is it's a growth mentality. That's really what the climb is. If you've ever seen mountain climbing, if you've ever done it yourself, or if you've ever seen rock climbing or anything like that, there are two primary muscles that you use. One is that you're pulling yourself up, and then the second one is that you're pushing yourself up. But either way, you're trying to elevate. That's the whole objective. That's the entire goal. And so this is a growth mentality. There should always be this burning desire to get better. Every day we should seek to get better. Every day we should seek to elevate to the next level. How do we become the best version of ourselves? How do we get the most what we have to offer to this world, to this life? How do we get the most out of that? And you have to climb to get there. You have to push yourself all the time, and you have to constantly pull yourself up when you fall down and when you get knocked down, push and pull. And so the climb is a growth mentality. It's a growth mindset. And that's what that keynote is all about. It's helping people to reach their highest, most optimal level, and to be the best they can be and to perform at their best at all times.
Yes, yes, and that's what it should always be. My thing is being better than I was yesterday.
That's right. Yeah. If we're not growing, we're dying. And so
True.
I want to be on the side of growing and getting better. Even if it's by 1% every day, I want the increase every single day.
Yes. So how do you support other professionals to be able to get into that mindset? Because I think there's people that I'm going to just say, for lack of a better word, stagnated.
Hmm.
So how do you help someone see that type of mindset?
Yeah, you always start with the having the proper mentality, right? And we have to question our motivations a lot of times. Are our motivations stemming from the right place? Are they stemming from the right position? And so we want to question those motivations. If you look at the word motivation, it's two words in one. Is motive is the first part, and then ation is the last part. And motive, we all know what that is. It's your reason, and then ation actually means action. So your reasons will always drive your actions. And so when we're trying to get into this space, this proper space of having the right mentality, this proper space of making the climb and elevating, you want to start with the mentality first. And if we can question our reasons, if we can point back to the proper reason, it'll drive our actions. But if our reasons are wrong, then our actions are going to be off as well. And when the actions are off, you're going to get the wrong results, and then you're going to have to start all over from the drawing board. So you want to question the motivation to begin with. Ask yourself this question here: is do you love what you do? Do you love what you're going after? Because this is how you walk into purpose, is that you have to have something that you love, that you are totally obsessed with. I am obsessed with what I get to do every day. I'm obsessed with speaking. I'm obsessed with crafting dynamic messages. I'm obsessed with coaching. I'm obsessed with everything that is in my world. And so it's hard to be average at something that you love and that's something that you're so passionate about. And then secondly, you have to ask yourself, am I good at this? If you love it and you're not good at it, then it's probably not your purpose. So you want to love it and then you want to be good at it. And then number three, you want to find out, how does this help somebody else? Why do they need what I have to offer? If I was giving somebody a message today, I want to know, how does it help them and how do they apply it to their life immediately? So that's the whole process that I kind of walk myself through, and then I walk others through it. This is how you get into this space, into this mentality, is that you want to question your reasons first. That's going to drive your actions, and then you want to make sure, hey, whatever I'm going after, I want to make sure that I love it. I want to make sure that I'm good at it, and then I want to know, how does this help somebody else? What is the value that I bring to someone else?
Yes, yes. And I like that you said that because at the end of the day, we're not here for ourselves.
Right.
We're here for others.
That's right.
And if
That's
we're
right.
not in service, then what you doing?
Yeah. 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 And that's the real selling point, is that when you can figure out the value that you offer, the value that you bring, and how it helps someone else and why it helps someone else, that's the sweet spot. That's when you're really cooking with oil. That's when you're cooking with grease, as they would say. And so yeah, you find your sweet spot when you can answer that question of this is how it helps somebody else. This is why, and this is the value that it provides. And if you can't answer that, keep working at it. You'll find it, but that's what you want to be able to answer.
And a lot of times, people, when you're young, like kids, they kind of already kind of starting to walk into their purpose. But
Hmm.
sometimes the elements around them dims that. And because people might be around them saying what they can't do and blah
Hmm.
blah blah blah, you know the words.
Of course, of
And
course.
sometimes it gets pushed away, and sometimes it's refound, and other times life happens and it's never refound.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
how that's a huge thing to me.
Yeah, yeah. I have such an appreciation for my haters. And I tell other people this too, is that you want to embrace your haters, because for me, and I'm just driven this way, I'm just wired this way, is that I need my haters. I want them because I like to hear the noise of what someone think you can't do. I don't believe in other people imposing what they think about me upon me.
Right.
And so we put so many values on, or so much value on other people's opinions. And that
Yeah.
has nothing to do with your purpose. It has nothing to do with your calling, your gifting, what somebody else thinks. And so I embrace that, because I use it for fuel and it excites me, and I'm like, I must be doing something right if I have that much noise or if I have that many people talking about me. So I find a way to embrace it. And I encourage young people to do the same thing because the more successful you are, the higher that you climb in life, each level that you go upon, you're going to have a new set of problems on every level that you go to.
Yes.
So you might as well get used to it. If you think you're just going to walk through life with no problems, no challenges, nobody criticizing you, nobody, saying things about you that's not true, then you're going to be in for a rude awakening. And so embrace the fact that as you climb, as you get higher, there will also be new challenges upon every level. And so just embrace it along the way.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm glad you
Yeah.
spoke on that because I'm watching my great grandson. He likes bugs,
Uh-huh.
and I can already see where he's going
Yeah.
because Grandma, look at this bug. I mean, and every time, I mean, he likes playing with them, and I'm so happy that his mother sees that as well, and
Yeah.
is not trying to snuff it out, so to speak.
Yeah. She's allowing that freedom, that place of exploration and
Yes,
because that could be his purpose. He could have found his purpose this
right.
early in life, which is a beautiful thing. And so yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. So talked about your coaching.
Yeah.
How do people get involved with your coaching?
Yeah, so the easiest way is just to go to lasadapippen.com. You can find all of the information there. If you go to lasadapippen.com/coaching, it'll take you directly to the coaching page. And we help people communicate at an effective high level. That's what we do. You can be a professional, you can be an executive, you can be an amateur, you can be a shy person, introvert. It doesn't matter where you are. We have a communication framework that elevates the communication of anyone who is seeking better communication. Almost instantly it elevates your communication level with this simple framework that we've created here at Apex Speaking.
Oh, okay. All right. So if someone is coming to you, what is the process?
In terms of going
And
through the coaching program or the
I
the
mean,
actual program itself.
in terms of, okay, I'm signing up. How do you know where I belong? How do you know
Yeah, so we
where I
we
fit?
have an assessment that people can take. That's the first thing that we do. There's an online assessment. It's a series of questions. It's very short, less than 15 minutes, probably less than 10 minutes, depending. But they're just a series of questions to help us know where you belong, where you fit in, and how we can help you. Once you take that assessment, we produce a solution roadmap for you. And you don't have to take the coaching. You have the option of taking the coaching, but we provide you value even in the solution roadmap of what we recommend based on where you are and based on where you want to go. So that assessment is the first thing that happens. After they take the assessment, we provide a solution roadmap, and then we decide how we want to go forward, how we can help you, and how you can elevate your game. So that's kind of the simple three-step process almost.
Okay, okay. And how is it orchestrated? Is it online? Is it a group thing? Is one-on-one?
Yes, there are both options. The assessment is done online. The solution roadmap is provided digitally to you. And then we have a call right after the solution roadmap so that we can talk about the solution roadmap and then how we can help you. So all of that's done online. The meeting is done virtually and so forth. And if somebody wants coaching in person, that is an option as well. But most of it can be done right just like this, over Zoom, over a Google Meet meeting, and it can be individual one-on-one, and we also have group as well, because there are some people who come and they want their entire team to go through this communication coaching as well, but we
Mm.
can also do it one-on-one. So both options are available, and both options are just as effective.
Oh, okay, okay, good. I needed to know that. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. So let's talk a little bit about transitioning from to a new career,
Yes, yes.
because that's a scary moment.
Yeah, that was scary. It's fun now that when I look at it from this perspective as I'm looking backwards, it was fun, but it was scary. I mean, it was really scary. I was in engineering and I had a great job. I had great leaders and great colleagues. So I left not because something was wrong. I left because I wanted to get to that place of purpose for me. I wanted to get to the place of where I have my highest impact, not because something was wrong. A lot of people they leave because something is wrong, but that wasn't my case. My contract was coming to an end, and I had to make a decision. Am I going to stay here and renew my contract because I had the option to do so? Or am I going to take this leap of faith and go after what I really want to do, what I really love, where I really think that I'll have my greatest impact? And so I was faced with a decision and I had to make that decision. And I jumped out there and I made that decision. And there were times to where I was trying to swim my way back to shore. I was trying to go back. I was scared. And I had to weather those storms of fear. And what I learned was that I need to coexist with fear. I'm not trying to get rid of it anymore. I'm just trying to coexist with it now. And so my faith and my fear, they coexisted together. And so that was a huge mentality shift for me, is that I wanted to embrace the fear. And so that's exactly what I did. I embraced the fear and I burned the boats once I got over to the island. Because if you don't burn the boats, you're going to always try to find a way to go backwards. And if we give ourselves a way out, we'll take it almost every single time.
And I'm glad you talked about fear because most coaches, eliminate. And when you think about it, you can't
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
every new thing brings fear.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's just it goes with, like you said, faith.
Yep.
Because I mean, when you have a thought, it's pairs.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
negative and positive.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
all thoughts.
Yep. Yep. Even when you think about something as basic as a heartbeat, if you look at a heartbeat monitor, a heart monitor, it's an up down motion.
Yes.
And so you're going to have your mountains, you're going to have your peaks, but you're also going to have your valley. And alongside of every single mountain there's a valley adjacent to it. And so if we can embrace that mentality that there are mountains and there are valleys, is that the only thing that you don't want a flat line. That's what you don't want. So you have
True.
to be okay with the mountain, the times to where you are courageous, to where you have all the confidence in the world, But then at the same time, you have to learn how to muster that same confidence, that same courage when you're in the valley, because
Mhm.
you know that you're on your way back to a mountaintop. And so I embrace the fear. I don't tell people to try to get rid of it anymore. It's better if you can do it with the fear present. And so I embrace it. I got a chair personalized just for fear to sit down so we can have a conversation every now and then. So
I know that's right, because that's just part of the process.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
It
And you want to
really,
go through that process. The process is very important.
and you're gonna go through it.
Yep.
You want to or not. So
Yep.
in order to make it easier, like you said, you gotta embrace it.
Yeah, yeah, just embrace it, and we spend a lot of energy trying to get rid of it. And, sometimes it's just better to invite it in and, you know,
Right.
keep building your faith, but know that fear is there as well. And that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure in your coaching, that's probably the most difficult piece for people to grasp because
Yeah. And even when I first stepped into this space, I was fearful that I couldn't do it. I didn't always have the belief in myself. I wasn't always confident. I didn't grow up a confident person. I had to learn and build those things. But there were times to where I just didn't believe I could do it. I didn't believe I had anything to say. I didn't believe I offered value. So all of those things of the lack of self-worth and the lack of belief and all of the fear, all of those things was playing a number on me. But again, I learned how to embrace and lean into that and lean into my strengths at the same time and and
Mhm.
and take that first step forward.
Yes, yes, and that's so important because
Mhm.
a lot of times, especially the younger people, they may not have traveled. They ain't old enough yet. Let's put
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
they just ain't lived long enough.
Yeah.
And trying to sometimes get that mindset over to them can be very challenging.
Of course, of course. Yep. And because it does take time. It takes work, it takes energy, it takes effort. And we're in a society now to where people want to take the shortcuts. And
Mm,
every time you take a shortcut, you always get cut short.
true
So
that.
don't try to get there the fast as you can. You want to get there on a solid foundation. And you have to build that takes time, that takes effort, energy, and hard work. And it takes all of those things. Focus on the progress instead of and don't forget about the process.
Yeah.
So that's what I coach and that's what I teach in terms of how you're going to get there. You're going to have to go through the process and make progress along the way.
And everybody's process is different.
That's
So
correct.
you cannot compare yourself with the person next to you. Maybe they got it sooner.
That's correct. And that is another challenge in and of itself is that when people begin to compare themselves to other people,
Mm,
and I always tell people that's one thing you do not want to do is compare yourself to other people because I've never seen a positive outcome when we compare ourselves to other people. Usually only two things happen. There's somebody's going to feel superior and somebody's going to feel inferior when you
mhm.
compare yourself to other people. And just as they say, comparison is the thief of all joy. So we don't want to get caught up on what somebody else is doing. You want to be focused in on you. What are you great at? What makes you great? What makes you unique? Focus completely on you. You can draw inspiration from other people,
Yes,
but there's a fine line between drawing inspiration and comparing yourself to other people. We just don't want to lean on the side of comparing ourselves.
absolutely. And I think social media lends itself to that.
Totally. Absolutely. It's a huge barrier for people because we're watching what everybody else is doing. And, we're watching how many followers they have, how many likes they have, how many reposts and retweets and reshares. We're watching everything that we're doing. And every time that we do that, we're only diminishing ourselves. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, get out of the comparison business. Get out of that.
yes, for sure. That definitely will keep you down.
Of course. Absolutely.
Definitely. And that's one of the problems with the younger people. They pretty much get caught up in that. I think the older people, we at that place where we just don't give a damn.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. you gotta learn how to get there. You gotta go through some lumps to get to that place where you just don't care. Yeah, that you want to get there though. It's like, no, I'm not comparing myself to nobody. I'm truly content,
Yes,
in
indeed.
my own space and in my own being.
And that's a wonderful place to be, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and sometimes people say, they're trying to be happy, and happy can be fleeting a lot of times. And so I was like, don't try to be happy. And if you are happy, that's awesome. But don't try to be happier than happy, and focus on getting content more so than happy. And so I think contentment is a better place to be, because happiness can be depicted upon external things, and it can be fleeting a lot of times. But when you're content, that's an internal space first.
Yes, I have to agree with you because people throw that word around, happy. All I
Hmm.
want is to be happy. And you're
Yeah.
so right. You can wake up in the morning feeling so happy,
Hmm.
and later on, for no reason that you can muster up, you ain't happy no more.
That's right. That's right. It's so fleeting. I'm like happy. No, I'm not seeking to be happy. The days when I'm happy, I'm very happy that I'm happy, but
Yes.
I just want to be content. Contentment is a place of peace for me. So
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
And it's very different.
It
It,
is.
it's very different.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yes. Wow. This has been amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could go on and on and talk. This-
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
could,
totally. Yeah.
because I like working from the inside out. And, I always say, personal development found me
Hmm.
because, before I really got involved, I didn't know how much control I had. I didn't even know I had control over what I feel, what I think, how I think.
Hmm.
You don't think about it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going through the motions of this thing called life, and you doing, but you're not really, really paying attention
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yep. And we have 100% ownership. We have more ownership than what we give ourselves credit for.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we just have to take that ownership and the responsibility of that ownership. But you're absolutely right. You can nobody can control how you feel. They can't dictate, what you feel. You've probably heard people say, that person just made me feel, and I'm like, no, stop right there. That person does not control how you feel.
Yes,
We give them the freedom to control our space, but that's not who's really in control. It's really you. You have 100% ownership.
yes, 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 you do. And then once you realize that life is full of ups and downs, like we've been talking about, up and down, valley, mountains, valleys,
Hmm.
and you really have to learn how to respond better to those things.
Yep, that's right. Yep. How you respond can be more important than what's happening itself.
Yes,
Yep. It's the response that matters the
it's
most.
a whole lot,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
that reactive thing will get you in trouble
Every time.
90% of the time.
Every time. Yes, indeed.
It's just, but you learn that when you paying attention to the moment. When you're
Hmm.
in the moment and you actually paying attention, a lot of things happen.
Absolutely. Yes. I wrote a whole chapter on the moment. It's called the moment principle. That's literally what it's called. And so, because that's literally what it talks about, is being present in the moment, focusing on right now, not yesterday, not your past accolades, not your past laurels, not tomorrow, not what you got planned in the future. Now is the best time frame that we have on earth. Now. There's no better time frame than right now. And so I call it the moment principle. And it's all about being in the moment of now and being present right here, right now. Because right now is it's the best control that you have. Is right now. You can influence your tomorrow. You can influence your future, but it starts right now.
Mhm. So how do we get that?
Yeah, that's also on the website. That's on
Ah,
lasadapippen.com. If you just go to my store, it's in there also. The book is called It's Just Not Common Sense. And it's just 6 pragmatic principles that I talk about in that book. Very practical. You can apply it almost immediately. It's a game changer in terms of perspective shifting and so forth. But when you said that about the moment, that's what made me think of that is that, yeah, I dedicated an entire chapter to, being in the moment, So yeah, but that's on lasadapippen.com as well. And just go to the store and you'll see it right there.
all righty now. So I'm definitely gonna have to, you're gonna have to send me that so I can put it in the show notes so people can, because I think humanity need all the help they can get,
Of course.
especially now in these turbulent times when we feel helpless. We need to know how to respond to keep the content, you know,
Yeah,
the content, because some things we can control, some things we can't.
that's right.
How do we how do we deal with that?
Yeah. Yeah. You want to focus on what you can control.
Right.
That's the best thing you can do. Just simply focus on what's in my control. I don't worry about nothing that I am not a participant in. I don't worry about nothing. If I'm not participating in it, I don't worry about it at all. I am so even keel for the most part, because I believe that balance is the key to life. And, part of that balance is just simply focusing on what can you do about your life, not what somebody else can do for it or to it, anything like, but what can you do for it? And what can you do about it? And so we want to focus on the things that we can control.
Yes, absolutely. So again, LP. It's a lot to simmer on here. You
Yes.
brought a lot of nuggets and stuff, things that people need to definitely simmer on
Yeah.
so that they can live their best life. So again, how do people connect with you?
Yep. All of my socials are at Lasada Pippen. Very simple. It's just my first and last name. And that's Lasada, and then Pippen, just like Scotty, Pippen, and lasadapippen.com. Very easy to find. Pretty simple process at Lasada Pippen and lasadapippen.com.
Yes, 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 indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've been, you've gotten your dose of personal development today. I
Yep.
hope you continue the road because at the end of the day, it's all about getting better than you were yesterday. And
That's absolutely right. We want to get better every single day to reach
abs-
our ultimate place of where we belong.
and it ain't just gonna happen because you say it.
Nope. You gotta do this one thing I always tell people is that you gotta always push. And push, what that means in the world of LP is that you have to persevere until success happens. That's what push means. So you
Mm,
gotta always push. If you're not winning, if you haven't won, guess what? The game is not over yet. And just because a chapter ends in your book, your story is not over. It doesn't mean that the book is over just because the chapter ends. So always push, persevere until success happens.
yes. And that on that note, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, LP.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Absolutely.